Hi, and welcome to another episode of the King Ugly Crew. Tonight we are talking about deserted islands and our must-have items on the deserted island. So here's the question. It's me. I'm Skyla. Dane is here, Griffith is here, and Lonnon is here. We've got kind of a small crew. Although for any other family that would be ginormous, right?
Yep. Or at least a regular.
So we here's the stipulation. Lonnon used this word earlier, so I'm going to steal it from him. You have been exiled to a deserted island for the rest of your life, so there is no escape. What 3 items would you want to have with you? Dane, go first.
You would make me go first.
You're the oldest boy till Jason came along.
I
like to go in age order. It's just easier for me.
Let's see. So what's on this island already? That's the question.
Yeah,
all the things you would need to survive.
So are we talking
survive,
okay.
Just
not
mana?
Enjoy life. What did you say, Lonnie?
Like just mana? We have these birds that come in and they drop mana to us every day.
Sure.
Yeah, food's taken care of.
You won't starve.
I would. And how big is this island?
Big enough that you it takes you a whole day.
We're talking like Castaway Island?
Whole day to walk.
No, not that big.
To walk around or across?
Around.
Okay, so not huge.
So not that big.
I mean, a full day to walk all the way around, it's still, circumference would be like 20 miles. You can get 20 miles in a day.
Huh. 3 things.
Yeah,
I feel like you're stalling with all these questions.
No, I need to know the details because that's going to dictate what I bring and what I don't. I think they're viable, Lonnon.
No, they definitely are.
I'm just teasing you.
So I'm going to go solar powered generator, my TV, and my Xbox.
Why not just get some Skynet there going on?
Sure. Okay, I'll take a nuclear reactor, and I'll take my house and everything in it. That's only one thing.
Oh my gosh.
And a refinery to make gasoline so I can drive around and engineer a jet ski.
If you got
Who are you going to get to run the generator or the nuclear reactor and the refinery?
See, I would just go solar at that point.
The people are coming with him.
He's transplanting one of those ones that they shut down in Diablo Canyon, and he's just going to move it. And it's just going to take up the whole island. He doesn't realize that part.
No, I'd go solar generator,
really
TV,
quickly.
Xbox.
That's hilarious.
Okay.
All
right.
I think that's good. I'd be entertained.
You certainly would be until you beat all the games.
Can we take people or no?
No people.
Okay, yeah, so might as well take stuff that I enjoy.
Okay, that makes sense.
Smart. All right, Fuff, you ready?
Yeah.
Fuff, what about Lonnon? Going in age order.
You were upset at me for going in age order.
There goes that theory.
Bang goes that.
So now apparently I'm going in alphabetical.
Yeah, because that's how it puts us in the server.
So 3 things.
Yep.
His Switch.
No. I would probably bring a shovel. Oh, what would I want? A shovel.
Why'd you take a shovel?
Is it one of those
everything you need.
that works like an axe?
You got bamboo. Yeah. Make your own shovel.
Yeah, but you know how that is. Honestly, I would bring some sort of tools, and I don't know what kind of tools. I would hope that I ended up on an island that a millionaire happened on the other side, and they had a hut I could live in.
Well, you have everything you need to survive, so this is all just for not going insane.
Creature comforts. A warm gun so that I could just end it, because gosh, I couldn't live on a deserted island. I couldn't do a castaway, I'd be honest. I'd find myself a very dark place quickly.
Happiness is a warm gun.
Yeah, I could not see another person and I'd be fine.
I need social interaction. I can't do that. Like a couple of hours maybe, but on Xbox would drive me bananas. You can only play so many games so long.
Fuck, that surprises me.
There's so many different games.
Why?
You just seem one of the more introverted, at least when I hang out with you, you seem one of the more introverted of us. Not that any of us are actually introverted except Tosh, but you, to me, seem, you're quieter, so maybe that's what it is.
That's because I spend all day talking. all day.
It's rather draining. I know where he's
Like,
at.
I
even at
understand.
Subaru, I spent all day talking. It gets to the point where I'm one that, you know why I listen? I don't want to talk to anyone anymore. You should ask my wife. She would agree with me, is that was her big complaint whenever I'm gone, is that I don't talk to her because, really, I'm done talking.
He's all
He's
talked out.
He's reached his word limit.
Yep, I killed my headset twice today, and no one would know what that means except for maybe Lonnon.
I know. Battery-powered headset.
Yeah.
I was guessing. All right,
Well-
so Griff, your choice is a gun and a bullet.
Yeah, a gun and a bullet.
It's
And
so dark.
Hey, you know what? It better be a gun and 2 bullets because you never know if that first one's any good.
I mean,
Can you imagine if that first one didn't go off?
The problem is that if I'm exiled there forever with no one else there, like, there is no point to live. If there's and if that's how this is kind of phrased, if it's phrased that you're stranded on a desert island, period, and that you might have there's some caveat of living, honestly, I'd have some sort of shovel and something I could build my hut with, and I mean, really, I could find things to do for a while and be quite happy because I don't know where this desert island is. I'm sure it gets cold at night because even in Hawaii it gets cold, and so I'd be figuring out how to build a house.
Wilson!
Oh my. All right, Lonnon. You got a desert island item list?
So yeah, that would be the same thing with. So I guess depending on everything came with, like you said, everything I need to live. So I've got the food. I mean, do I have tools or do I not have tools? I guess yeah, I would do the same thing, not the gun, but I would definitely have some sort of shovel. They make shovels that are also axes now. A good knife, and probably something I could use to light a fire. So that I did not have to do that stupid bow string fire thing. Gosh, that sucks to do.
Those
Dude,
are
you
the
gotta do it
worst.
one time.
Yeah, as long as you can keep the fire going.
Yeah, you don't fall asleep and it goes out.
You don't go walking around the island and it goes
You
out.
keep a trail of wood.
No, I
Thank
would
you.
agree. Like,
Right into
if
the
you have
forest.
the problem is how much wood is there and how much do you have to burn and how quickly does it burn? Like, that's where I'm kind of at is like there's a lot of questions on a deserted island. And who says it's not the Antarctic? That's a desert island.
Shoot,
I mean,
it
that's a
could be
deserted
it could be
island.
Vancouver Island up in Washington where they get alone.
Yes.
Lots and lots of freaking rain. Gosh, that would suck.
But again, you have everything you need
Gun,
to
2
survive.
bullets.
Guys are so dark, man.
What would you? Okay, Skyla, your turn, because I want to hear. If you were stranded, not on a tropical desert island, but on a deserted island.
What would I take with me?
Yes.
I would have a preloaded, infinite battery packed Kindle with every book. I would have.
Yeah, give me the gun now.
I feel like that would be good for the first week, maybe 2, and then
You underestimate my joy of reading.
I
love reading.
because I was thinking the same thing that I would take something that I could listen to audiobooks on, but at the same time, like, what good do those audiobooks? I mean, like, some of them are self-help books, some of them are just fun books to listen to, right? But
It would
I
be
don't
a
know,
human voice.
yes, yeah, I mean, it would be better than nothing, definitely.
My
So I
problem
would have
is that,
books.
like, yet again, it would be fine for a week. I'm thinking long term here. Like, Wilson, could you imagine being a Tom Hanks for 5 years?
No, I can't. I mean,
Video games.
it
Escape.
would be really hard not to. Well, he tried ending his life in that one. It would be really hard not to just be like, okay, I'm done. I have nobody to talk to. This is terrible.
So what if we changed it? Would your list change if it was a set time period? You've been exiled for, like, say, a year or 5 years, like on Castaway?
Never saw Castaway, so I wouldn't know on that.
Same. You haven't seen Castaway?
Nope.
Mine would
Wait,
definitely
are
not
you
be
talking?
the same.
Wait, is that the
Tom
Hanks
Hanks.
one?
Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Okay, no, I've
Wilson.
seen that one. I was thinking.
I'm like, you're quoting it. How do you not know it?
Yeah. I was thinking that it was. Oh, I was thinking Lost, the TV show.
Yeah.
Really good until the end.
Yeah, I never
Agreed.
saw it.
Agreed.
Never saw
I
it.
actually watched the season 2 premiere on Waikiki Beach.
Anyway,
It was cool.
so if that's the
I
case,
digress.
then yes, I would take some sort of audio player with a solar charger of some sort, and something that would and make it so that I have, I guess, internet, so I can access any of that. So I can access
Okay,
new
but
books.
how? I mean, no. Like that's the problem is that you don't have internet. If you have internet,
Agreed.
you aren't stranded on an island.
Satellite internet.
We didn't say
Same.
stranded. We said exiled.
Exiled. You could totally have internet.
Okay, well, I guess I didn't realize Exile, because Exile, totally different thing. If I could have, that would be a satellite, a solar panel setup, and a computer.
Yeah,
Because
that would be mine.
I can call people, I can Zoom with people, I have the internet.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, like
I would use it to get like blueprints of stuff, or
Information.
is this plant edible? What can I make out of this plant? Can I make a rope from this?
okay, yeah.
That's where I would start doing stuff. Figuring out how to make my house, how to make my own mortar to make my house.
Watch the videos of the guy making a pool and making wells and
digging
you
his
guys seen
own
those videos?
Yeah, the ones where he digs his own house like Minecraft.
Yeah, those are awesome.
Yeah.
So that's totally different. That I now understand. That would make more sense. But when it was originally, I'm like, nothing. Like, there's nothing to do.
Griff's just like gum barrel in my mouth.
Yeah, what do you have to live for? Because I wouldn't say I'd be using it immediately, but you get a year or 2 years into it where no one's coming and you are eating the same food every day and you have nothing.
Well, I think the thing is like that's what would be really cool about it. I mean, like your needs are taken care of. What Skyla's saying. So you have food, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't make your own tools to go out and fish or find the Wolverine that's coming after you.
Correct. I get that, but it gets to the point where you only can eat so much fish and so much. Like, imagine eating the same basic food for years.
No, you're absolutely right. There needs to be but that's why I was saying sorry, Skyla. That's where a book, like information of some sort. That's where like, can I eat that plant? Can I use it like a salad? Or can I use that as a spice? Or yeah.
Well, and I think for me, because knowing that I'm only going to be eating the same thing over and over and over again, I might bring spices and condiments.
Yeah,
like a spice rack.
I totally agree with that. Well, if you're on an island, you're going to have salt, just not iodized salt. You'll have
evaporate the water.
Yeah, you could totally do that.
Yep, and you'll have everything you need to survive, but spices, make the food worth the eating.
Right, and
just take the plants.
Right, and so that's what I'm saying. That's where I would want those. I would want books for that type of information, and it would be hard for me not to have them in on a computer in a PDF form that I could just download or listen.
We've gotten so used to having the wealth of human information at our fingertips at all time that it's hard to remember.
That's funny, Skyla, because I was just thinking about that. I was watching Civil War, Captain America, Civil War, and they keep talking about 1991. And I was like, holy cow, there was no internet in 1991. And it's like, what do we do now when we want information? We just look it up on our phone, good to go. Shoot, even, 10 years ago before smartphones, what do we do? Went to the computer and looked it up. And it's like, what did we do before that? We wrote it down if we were smart and then went to the library and researched it.
Do you remember how excited I was when we got encyclopedias?
Yep.
In the house?
Yep.
Well,
I read those things cover to cover all the way to V.
Jeez Louise. I think that's what, like, some of that stuff, like around, your local area. That's like the information that would have been passed down, right? Hey, this plant is going to make you sick. This plant's going to make you itch. This plant you can eat.
The poor people who were trying to figure out which mushrooms were okay.
That's probably why someone continued it.
Like, oh, this one is really good with steak. This one killed Bob last week. And this one makes you see God for a week.
Or your marbles will probably know your face. Right. So definitely. Okay. So I think we've nailed down kind of what everybody would kind of do is we would all have some sort of either entertainment or information.
Yep. Well, we all constantly like to learn, so that's not too much of a surprise.
No, it's really not. I mean, like, I actually have a bunch of, I have some blacksmithing books on my server, just so I can have them.
Just in case.
Yeah, the problem is if we have an EMP, it's not in a Farad cage, or a Faraday cage. And so then it's gone anyway.
You just need to print them out.
Yep.
Does an EMP ruin the? It doesn't ruin the file.
drives.
You just wouldn't have electricity.
It ruins the hard drives. It wipes out
I didn't
anything
realize
that's some
that.
sort of anything that's electronic. So like your starter on your car. So like that's why old 12 valves, if they were manual, you could get them started because you could wire up the the thing that pulls up the arm for fuel, and then you could push start it. But and it would still run because it's diesel. But anything with some sort of coil, a starter, for instance, or a coil for an engine, none of those would be good anymore.
Okay. All right. I have another question then. If, for instance, an EMP did happen, what would your skill be in the new electronicless period of time?
Working on stuff to make it so it works, because my tractor would still start.
Nice.
Bringing people together to form a society, because I think there's safety in numbers.
Yeah.
Lonnon.
I don't know. I have Lonnon and Baron all within 8 minutes of me.
I don't know. That one's a hard one because like what my skill set be is what you're asking.
Farming.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably right. I'd probably farm and garden. To be honest with you, I would figure out. I've thought about this before. To be honest, I actually plan on having a Faraday room in my house so that I can put stuff in there so that it doesn't get destroyed. So that I could be that information guy, and sell it for chickens or whatever I needed.
For chicken. Your wife would be happy.
Well, no, I just mean like I could trade information for food, for what our family needed. Because there's a lot of things I'm sure I can figure out. I've looked at how I could make a Tesla turbine for water and energy for power. So there's lots of different things that I could do. But I don't know if an EMP dropped today. I don't know. That would be really hard. What do you think I would do, Griff?
I think you could pretty much figure anything out. I think you're a freaking genius.
I'm not saying I couldn't. I'm just saying, until it happened, I don't know what I personally think I could do. I would figure something out. I would get things done. But off the top of my head, I don't know what I would do.
I think that the mechanically inclined type of things is what I'm talking about. Like, we get to the point where we could get... really, if an EMP went off today, you'd get back to these little things that people forget about and why society's getting crazy is food,
social media,
sleeping. So where are you going to sleep? Where are you going to eat? Because up until 120 years ago, that's what you was concerned with every single day. What am I going to eat and where am I going to sleep? Because you didn't have any other thing. Food was an essential, and where you were going to stay.
Yeah, it's just like, God, can you imagine the people that would have horses at that point? Like how wealthy they would be? In terms of what they had, how much would you give for a horse? Like that?
Yeah. I think that we still have the doomsday stuff that would probably work. We still have Baron's car that would drive on the road. Now, would diesel be not a hot economy? A hot thing? Not really, but all these old cars would still run on them. So I think that we would have running vehicles faster than you would think.
Like who? You like us as in our family, or us as in
as in our
civilization?
Family.
I would agree with that.
I think civilization would not be that far behind. I think it would probably, not that far behind. It's probably a year and a half, 2 years, which would kill off. If that were to actually happen, you would probably kill off nearly half the population with starvation and
mostly in large cities. Like that's where I think most of that you would have issues. Like where we're at in Utah. Actually,
that's how we could get our country back.
Anywhere in Utah.
That is not a good way.
Yeah, that's definitely not a good way. But I think
I'm joking.
Right. But anywhere in Utah, I think that you'd have a much better chance of surviving. I don't personally have very many guns, but I have plenty of friends that do. That I'm sure that if I'm sure I could figure out something to trade them so that I could get a gun and go hunt for food.
Yeah, agreed. And finding food, getting food that way. We live in a place that there's many more preppers, we'll call it, than the average player. I'll tell you right now, if an EMP went off, the scariest place you could be is in any big city.
Oh my goodness, I can't imagine it.
Because it is going to be, it's going
chaos.
to be, it's not only is it going to be chaos, but those people that have the guns are the ones that are going to rule, not just kind of rule, but rule that city.
Or they're smart and they get out of there quick.
How?
Well, I don't know. You're right. I don't know. I mean, but they can leave in groups.
Yeah,
They
because
walk.
that's their choice.
That's what you would have to do. You would have to live in a group. You couldn't just go off solo. Definitely.
No. But
Like so what if there was an EMP today, what 3 things would you want to have? Or
food storage,
or what 3 things
Gun.
would you want to have access
and a
to?
gun. Food storage, water storage, and a gun.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm not far off. But that's where I think that's where it'd be nice because, with Griffith with Griffith and Barron and Case living close, it's like if I knew one of them had one of those major things, I would still want food storage and water storage, right? I kind of put those in the same grouping, if you will. But I would definitely want a horse of some sort or horses,
I mean, the only reason I could think of a point of a horse is to get a vehicle, to get something running. That was a vehicle.
That's the
I don't
point
even
of
know.
a horse.
And
Right,
but
I think that you would use a horse more often than you would think you would, because how nice would it be to be able to get on a horse, right, and go up into the mountains to be able to hunt? Because yes, do we have deer down here? Yeah, but it's not prevalent where it is up in the mountains.
Okay, I could see that. Yeah, I get behind that.
That and gas would also, like, without
Right.
refineries,
Oil.
gas would become a very
Yeah,
hot commodity. So
Have you guys
horses,
watched
they're
Walking Dead? Sorry, Skyla.
No,
yes.
it's like Jericho.
Well, up till Glenn died, and then I couldn't watch anymore. Oh, spoiler! Sorry, everybody.
What? Glenn died? Just joking. I know.
I mean,
I've never watched it.
I'm gonna go with is that I think that gas would be actually less of less of a thing than you would imagine, because how the average person is not capable of getting a vehicle running if an EMP went off, because any computer controlled anything is dead. So that's all the generators out there, that's all of the cars out there. Unless it is an old diesel, that is the only vehicle that you're going to be able to get running
Unless you had some of that stuff sitting somewhere.
in a lead lined
No,
something.
in a Faraday cage. But
Yes.
that would be the only way. That would
Right.
absolutely be the only way. And I agree with you. I think I absolutely agree with you that there's things, but you would have to figure out how to make a pumping system to get it out of the ground at those gas stations.
What PTO?
Yes, I get it.
Dude,
but
you
if
get
you're already
a
out of
siphon
gas,
tube with a little ball in it.
No,
no,
that
because they're in the ground.
they're
like,
100.
pretty far.
They're 25, 30 feet in the ground.
No, they're like 15,
that-
but
It'd
you
be
couldn't get it.
easy. PTO. You could do a PTO. You could have a PTO rigged up in
What's a PTO?
an hour. I mean, a
So
PTO pump.
he's using a pump on a PTO on like the tractor that he has. Because he's right, his tractor would still run.
So I'm going to vary from you guys a little bit. I would want survival books. I would
Okay.
like if it happened today. I haven't read up on that yet, so I would want access to information and skills. Like I could mostly survive, but I don't know how to I don't know how to rotate crops so that I don't deplete the soil. I don't know how. I don't know
Yeah, but
how to
You
do
can
all
do that
these
by
things.
trial and error.
Yeah,
If you're
and
dead-
not just that.
Information doesn't do you any good.
Not just that, but like on a if it's for yourself, right? You wouldn't have to rotate crops. It's not gonna matter. I mean, like in a garden, you're just to move it on your property, depending on how big your property is anyway. Or you could just keep doing it there and just making sure that you get, chicken poop and cow poop and other poop. I mean, you could go poop on it yourself.
That's what the Koreans do.
That's what a lot of organic farms use now.
That's good for them.
So yeah, like
Guys,
it would
guys,
be
I have a
really
great
interesting.
idea. Let's poop on our crops and then charge people double for them.
Yeah, it's organic. Came right out my butt.
I think my skill set
Okay.
for if there was an EMP right now, because I didn't chime in on that one. I think I would either be the teacher because I have a fairly broad knowledge base. It doesn't I don't go real far in depth on a lot of things, but I know a lot about a lot. And then if I wasn't a teacher, then I would be a medic. I would be the healer, the person who people came to for, hey, what's wrong with me?
All right, that's yeah. Like I don't know what I would be. I just know what I would do. I don't know if you could classify yourself at that point, really. In my opinion, it would just be more like I
Everything.
am me. I'm going to get it done.
I'm going to figure it out because ultimately what it's going to be is, you wouldn't really have a job because your job would be the same thing that they did it back 120 years ago. Work the farm, try to get that way to get it going because ultimately I'd say 6 months is about what most people are going to have for any type of food storage until they're bare boned. And really, I think in a big city, they have about 2 weeks.
Oh gosh, 2 weeks. If
that.
I'm talking about where they have they have the can of beans that's in the back that I'm completely out of food, but they have 10 cans of beans still that they just aren't using.
I see what you're saying.
So Fuff, you keep saying 120 years. Because that was like 1901, which I feel like is kind of the modern age. I might be wrong here, but I feel like that was the beginning of the modern age.
But they were not common in 1901.
Right.
Yeah, and think about 1901. How were people getting their food and
farming?
Yeah.
Well, even go back to 1890
disagree.
when the patent office closed in 1890 because everything that could be invented had been invented.
That makes me laugh so much.
Yeah. So
they had Coke back then. Like, to me, that feels like the modern age. If I were going to, and it may be partly that I live in the South where things are a little bit older and on the East Coast, where, I have been to a house that was built in 1821 and on a fairly regular basis. And things are just older here. So I think of like the 1700s, the 1800s is more the time period that you would be a farmer because that's how you got your food. And I feel like as you get towards the 20th century, after the Civil War, and you get a little closer to the 20th century, I feel like that's when people started to have more diverse careers, and it wasn't just automatically assumed that you would do what your father did. And so I just was curious where you got that number, Griff.
Well, and go with this is I still don't think that it would be you do what your father would do, and I also don't think that everyone would be a farmer per se. But it's 100 years ago, no electricity. Pretty much if you go back 120 years, because that would be 1900s, there was virtually no electricity in anywhere except for the big cities, and you had to be uber wealthy to have it. There was no running water unless, yet again, uber wealthy and you were in a city. You had basically nothing. It was still pumping water out of the ground type of things. And that's, if you were to go and hit an EMP right now, that's what you would be. The wealthy would have solar panels, so they'd still have electricity. No, they wouldn't. They would have fried those too.
They would have fried those. See, I think you'd be back, actually not even 100 years. I think you'd go back almost a full 200 years as far as technology is concerned. Because, in 1893, that's when Tesla lit up the World's Fair.
Yeah, that's a point. Yeah, but still, power wasn't readily available.
It wasn't readily available, but at that point, when he lit up the World's Fair, that's when it started to become.
Maybe then we could get on the right power source for our houses.
Well, we are on the right power source for our houses. We're not on the right power source for... Well, no. Actually, they picked it a good way for both. AC is great for homes. DC is great for cars. It really is.
Oh, see, I thought you guys were talking nuclear power.
No, because most of Tesla's stuff was all hydro. He put it on Niagara Falls and a bunch of other places. That was all water. So that's why, the Tesla turbines that are used in the Hoover Dam are still Tesla turbines. They haven't changed them at all.
They have not, because they talk about it.
Yeah, and what would be crazy, what would really be really interesting, right, is how much we would have to learn just to get back to the point where we could create a coil for a car or an engine or, something like that.
I agree with that because we don't, it's too specialized and we don't each know how to do it. But we're also it would be reverse engineering. And so I think it would be a lot faster to figure it out.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not saying it wouldn't be. I'm just saying, how much time, we could go tear something apart and figure out why, what the EMP did to it, right? And probably figure out how to repair it. But there's a lot of people. There's a ton of people who they'd have no idea where to start.
Well, I mean, look at every basic lawyer, attorney. Doctor. Like a doctor would still be really important, but what's a lawyer supposed to do?
But what doctors, to be honest with you, because most of them are so specialized anymore that they don't have as much general knowledge as they used to.
Yeah, they're still a doctor. They're still gonna find. Ultimately, if there's something like that mass chaos, a doctor is going to fall into whatever it needs to fall into quickly.
I do think some of them will. I think that some of them are too general or too specialized and not generalized enough.
They still have to go through med school, so they still have all of that information. They just haven't used it practically, maybe in a little while. And I think lawyers have demonstrated the ability to learn a lot of information in a fairly short amount of time, and I think that they could adapt. It's one of the reasons that Navy nukes are so sought after for lots of different jobs, is because they've demonstrated that they can learn a lot of information and apply it rather quickly. And I think lawyers might fall into that same kind of category.
I think lawyers would totally go out of business, which they should. I think it's ridiculous the things that people can sue other people for right now. But doctors, heck with doctors, if you want somebody who knows what they're doing, get a nurse. They're the ones who apply everything all the time.
Yes, and honestly, I guess I categorize that into anyone in the healthcare field.
The medical field.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree.
Because ultimately, you're always going to be a healthcare worker. You're always going to have some sort of work. I mean, people are always hurt, sick, dying, and or other. You don't always have to sue someone.
So, Dane, you said you would gather people. Like, do you think you'd actually stay in Vegas? I mean, let's be honest. That's where they're going to drop the ball.
Hockey sticks. No, you couldn't stay in Vegas. 2 weeks after anything happened, everybody in Vegas would die because there's no food here. There's no water. I mean, Lake Mead, how long before that gets dried up and polluted where you can't use any of the water? Yeah, there's no way. I'd head up north. I'd head up by you guys.
You think you could make it? I mean, like, it's what, 178 miles?
That's only 9 days.
Honestly, I would be...
Yeah, but he's got to have food.
Yeah, but I think that's where, as much as the cars and all that would be going down, that's where, like, a Barron's Mercedes, for example, you could go drive up and pick up literally everyone in Vegas and bring all the guns you can to get through that and back as best as you can. And I mean, that's honestly, I know this sounds really bad because that's also like my doomsday. I've always thought of my FUMs of putting a manual back into it just for that, is that I know that I can get it started and I know I can get picking people up and getting them back to where they need to be. And
Grampy's always says, I don't need food storage. I got plenty of guns. Jokingly, he says that.
Right. But yeah, like I would be. The problem is that you would have to get out of Vegas. I think you have about 1 week to get out of Vegas before it goes. I know that it would be in chaos, but I think the shock would be about a week, and then after a week is when the bad goes down.
Oh, shut it! Yeah, it would be. I don't even. You would have a minute. Yeah, I think a maximum week, really.
Yeah,
I mean, it might have a quicker nap, but yeah, you're right. I mean, like, that's what's nice about Barron's cars. Yeah, well, you can just get it started, and figure out some fuel and down there with some gas tanks and back and
siphon it out of my diesels. Be good.
You guys have a much more pessimistic view of how things would go down. I am admittedly an optimist. I would probably be one of the first to die because I would
trust people.
Give everybody I would give everyone the benefit of the doubt.
I'm just looking at COVID and the craziness of the grocery stores with COVID. Well, imagine if you had no way of getting there, you had no food at your house. I mean, take this in your account, Skyla. No food at your house, no way of getting back and forth to where you're trying to do except for to walk. And how quickly does that? And no water, no electricity, all of it is down. You literally have nothing. Think about the mass hysteria that's going to happen.
People would be looting and rioting, and it would be the people who are not in the city have a chance. People in the city do not have a chance because people are going to kill everybody for everything.
7 days.
And I feel like one of the reasons in the cities it would be so bad is A, there aren't as many natural resources in the city, and B, there's anonymity in the city. You don't know as many people as well as you do in a small town. And so I feel like it would be a lot harder to loot and pillage your neighbor who you've known for 20 years.
Because there's a respect there. And you're right, Skyla.
Right.
There is no respect with
thinking
people you
about-
don't know.
I think you're wrong as far as natural resources for a lot of places, because they were there for a reason in the first place.
True.
But that being said, some may not be there anymore, or they just
moved
may be
over
sparse,
a lot of it.
But you would have to know where that stuff is at. I mean, if it happened right now and you're stuck in South Carolina, do you know where you can get salt from? Is there? Well, I mean, from the ocean, but is there a place you can get iodized salt from? That's growing, or that's in the ground.
And that's where I would want the information. That's where my books come in real handy.
Yeah, I would agree, but I mean, you would have to have something. So I guess I get what you're saying. You would want those books, but you wouldn't haul them around with you. And at that point, you would have to figure out either A, do I stay here, or B, do I figure out a smaller place to go so that I don't get looted or whatever.
Right. I would, and it might be because I know my neighbors so well. Here, we've been here for 12 years. And so I've been here since the neighborhood was teeny tiny, and now there's 6,000 homes. And so I know a lot of people. And so I feel like maybe I feel safer than I should, but I feel like I could, go to neighbors and trade with neighbors and, figure out a way to survive that way. And so Dane, you brought up Walking Dead earlier. I found that show to be on that pessimistic line where it was very much people are evil and you can't trust anyone and everyone is going to betray you. And I found that very difficult to swallow. I didn't agree with that perspective. I thought that there should have been, people are going to do what they need to survive, but I also think that people want that connection.
I think you're right, Skyla. There are going to be those that aren't pessimistic, and you can make things work. I feel like, something like that going down, it changes people. It's going to change them. It's going to be survival of the fittest. Well, if I can take your food and you're not going to stop me, well, then I'm going to take your food.
My family eats.
Right. So it definitely is something that you would have to think about. It's really hard. There's no doubt about it.
And Skyla, I'm also an optimist most of the time. But I think that when you get down to something like that, it's a complete mind shift with, I take care of me and mine and, screw everybody else. But I also, like I was saying, I would try and gather people. But I think there's certain people you want with you, and there's certain people that you don't want with you. If I'm trying to build a colony, a society, a tribe, sure. I want those people who are going to work hard, that have something to offer. And it's like, if you have nothing to offer, why would we keep you here and feed you? You don't offer anything, because there are finite resources. Now, once it depends on, what were to happen. But I feel like, I could reach out to my friends. I could reach out to, church members. I could reach out to, co-workers that I might have worked with. And, but once again, how do you reach out to them other than, unless you live close by? But it would be, I guess you do try and help take care of each other, but I think you have these tight-knit communities and you bring somebody else in and they're going to be looked as the outsider until they prove themselves. But I believe that people would try and take whatever they can get away with.
Okay, so let's
Why do you think
look
they
at
don't
this.
now?
Well,
because there's the police and there's consequences, and some people do.
Consequences. I think there's consequences is what it is. Is that what's going to happen? Where I think that the second, the second you don't have any, there's no consequences for your action, and it's the difference between you and your kids eating and them eating. Who's going to win it?
My family's more important.
Yeah,
and it's not even. It's not even like
Grampy's has this sign that actually it's not Grampy's. Loran, Grampy's friend, has a sign, and it says, there's a picture of a gun on it, and it says, "Nothing in my house is worth your life."
Why is your family more important than the family you're taking the food from?
That depends on. That depends on your thought
because it's my
process.
family.
Right, and
in
that's.
the eternal scheme of things,
Oh, I agree.
why
I'm
is
not-
your family more important?
But if you're starving,
If your daughters are starving, skin and bones, starving, what are you going to do? You going to
And
go take your food to your neighbor?
are their daughters skin and bones starving too?
Maybe, but
My
that's
responsibility is my family.
that's something you've got to take in account when something were to happen. Now, it's not saying that you would change. You might not, and you might look at it that way, that it's not in an eternal perspective. It's not worth it to me to do this. But that does not mean that they aren't thinking the other direction. And that's the issue, is that it's not you. It's somebody else you need to be making sure that you're taking care of yourself from.
Lonnon said it. It's survival of the fittest. If you're not going to fight for your stuff, then somebody else will.
Yeah.
Right. But if
It's not
So
that
I'm one of those-
it's not morally correct at any level, but
Not at all.
it doesn't change the fact that some of those people aren't going to be morally correct at that point. It is basically, I can take care of me and mine, or I can let you take care of you and yours.
And I feel like I'm one of those people who's always like, there's always hope. If I had some terminal illness, and I decided that I was going to end it, for sure, 5 minutes later, they would find the cure for this terminal illness. There's always hope. I would never end it before it was ended for me. And I feel that way about this kind of situation where if I'm doing the right things and I'm doing the things that I know to be correct and right, then either I'm going to be taken care of on earth and my family will be provided for, or it'll be done and I'll be provided for in heaven.
And
agreed. But I'm going to go with is that I think
Faith
on
that
your
works
side
is
of
dead.
it.
many people don't have that belief.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is that look,
There
it's
is no
now
afterlife.
There's
right?
now it's like 40% of the population, and I'd have to look at the statistics anymore. That's atheist. That doesn't believe in any type of God.
Okay, but why does that change how I react to a situation? Like, how
doesn't.
is the Lord going to look at
doesn't.
me and go, oh, well,
But self-defense
she
is
thought
okay,
they-
right?
Are you saying that you
self-defense
wouldn't?
is okay.
Are you saying that you wouldn't protect your family, or are you just saying that
No.
you wouldn't take somebody else's food?
Correct. I'm saying that I would absolutely protect my family, but I would not say, well, my kids are eating and your kids aren't.
Okay, yeah, I can get behind that. Yeah, I agree.
So Griffith wasn't saying that he's going to go after somebody else's kid. He was just saying that there are other people that are absolutely
Who
going to be
will
like,
do that?
Yes, that they're like,
I'm going to come take
I
your
don't
stuff.
care. I don't have. This is not against my moral compass to steal your food.
Right. And I'm sure that there are those people out there, but I have to conduct myself in a way that, because I know that there's something after, and so I have to conduct myself in a way that I'm not going to be miserable just for this short period of time. I don't want to be miserable for eternity.
Now, I think so. The issue here also would be, so there would be places, unless they dropped the biggest EMP ever known to man, where everybody lost everything. There's
Or
a good
multiple
chance.
strikes.
There could be, but say it happened in Vegas, right, or Salt Lake, which are the two closest to us. The worst thing we're going to get is fallout. We're not going to have any of our stuff be destroyed. So, we still might have access to some of this stuff.
Fallout from an EMP?
If it was just an EMP, no.
Okay.
But if it was an actual nuke, which is, there's an EMP in a nuke, it happens at the same time.
Right.
But if it were just an EMP, we still, the power plants are going to be down. And
You'll get human fallout from all the cities.
You would, yeah. And so then you've got to make sure that you're taking care of your community, whether that's just the people around you, your family, or it could be all of Enoch. Who knows? But I know plenty of people here that would band all together, and we'd just be like, do you have something to offer us? Because I'm not trying to be mean, but it doesn't do us a lot of good to make it so that we starve our kids if you don't have anything to offer to help with.
Yeah, that's where Cedar would be hard because it's right off the freeway.
Yeah,
Interesting.
It would, because it would be
What's
an easy
interesting,
path to
Skyla?
follow.
I just am reminded of the loaves and fishes, and obviously I'm not in this situation, and obviously I don't know what I would actually do if I was in this situation, but my inclination, my default would be to find a way, even if it's temporary, find a way to welcome those who are fleeing something that was they had no control over it. It was not of their own doing, and they're just fleeing. They're trying to do the same thing that we are, where they're trying to keep their family alive. And even if it was temporary, I would try and find a way to make that work, even if they didn't have anything immediate to offer, because miracles happen.
Well, we're not saying it has to be something physical, but are you going to let somebody in who has no skills and all they're going to do is eat your food, and all their family's going to do is eat your food, and they're not going to help grow it, and they're not going to help do anything? They're going to sit around and do nothing?
They're going to be leeches.
What? How do I know that they're going to be leeches?
Well, that's the problem. You don't. That's what the hard part is. I guess
Right.
it'd be hard
I
to
think
let
you'd have to
somebody
interview
where
people.
You would. You know, what kind of skills? Have you ever done something like this? Are you willing to do it?
What if they haven't?
If you don't do it, are you willing to get kicked out? You know, like, are you willing to take
That's
the
more what I
are you
would
willing to
say.
accept the consequences of not helping? You know, and the problem is, at some point, you know, you would have to be your own law, right? You would have to say, okay, look, you are not doing anything, you're out, and then what happens if they don't, you know, get out easily? Well, then you have
And
to
that's where
forcibly
your
remove that.
community comes in. That's where your community comes in. So that's what I mean. As a community, you know, bring in people and say, all right, you know, we want to help you, and we want us all to be able to survive this, but here's what you're going to have to abide by, and if you don't, then sorry, we're going to kick you out. But I default to again, give everybody the benefit of the doubt until they have shown you otherwise.
Give them enough rope to let them hang themselves.
I agree with that, but like, there's tons of people that. So I'm quick to give trust. I'll give you trust until you give me a reason not to. I think most people do not give you trust until you give them a reason to.
Well, in my experience, it is the opposite. Unless they have been hurt badly before, most people, in my personal experience, the people I have met, do give you trust first, unless you show it. And for some people, you have to show it to them several times before they don't trust you anymore. I think that some of the sides that we see of people on social media is more cynical and less trusting, but in person, people, they want that connection. They want to trust you. And so unless there is some pretty tragic history, a lot of times they do.
That's because it's all impersonal on social media. Like, it's way easier to tell somebody off when you're not standing in front of them. If you're standing in front of them,
Agreed.
how often are you actually going to tell somebody off? You're not. I mean, you might, depending on what it is. But, I mean, it's going to be far and few between versus all the time.
Okay, so kind of on these same lines, is man inherently good or is man inherently bad?
Man is made in the image of God, inherently good.
The natural man is an enemy to God.
That's what I was about to say.
That does not say inherently bad. He is an enemy to God. Any creature with sin is an enemy to God. It doesn't talk about how much sin.
How do you
It's any sin.
quantify
No unclean thing can enter the kingdom of God.
morality? I mean, like, where if you don't believe in something, right, where are you getting your morality from? Like, where are you getting this, you know, killing's bad from? What's right and wrong? You know, is it wrong to steal from somebody? Well, if you were never taught that, is it still wrong?
Well, that's
It's
kind
still
of
wrong, but you don't know.
It's still wrong by my point
ignorant.
of view, but it's not wrong by your point of view. So it's not wrong. So it all has to do with how you look at things too. So it's really hard to quantify what that morality is.
See, it's an interesting question to ask siblings because we all learned it from the same place. So we don't have a different perspective on this. We can't say how it would be perceived.
And there's somebody that I've been listening to quite a bit, and that's exactly that's what he brings up, is that it's not 99, or like our morality that we believe of right and wrong is all taught, whether it's, you know, based off of Christianity or based off of Muslim or based off of I don't know, another religion, whatever. It's all taught, right, that these things are bad to do. I mean, for us, eating cow is not necessarily bad, but for a Hindu, it is.
But is that? I feel like there's an inherent morality to humans.
That killing is bad.
That killing other humans is bad, and that may be a survival instinct. That may be hey, there's too few of us, we can't kill any, or we're going to be weaker. But I feel like there are certain rules that apply across almost all cultures, and I don't think that's an accident.
So I'm going to say, think of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay. Why was Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed?
Because of all the sinning. And they had no,
Nope.
I don't know that.
I mean, yes, that's part of it.
There was no redemption. Like, weren't they teaching
The
their
children
kids that it was all
were
true?
not taught right or wrong. The children did not know right from wrong. So in that case, they didn't know murder was bad. They didn't know stealing was bad. They didn't know, rape was bad. They didn't know anything was bad. They were never taught. So I think that the things that Skyla you're saying are, inherent as a human only if that's
taught.
what you're taught.
I think they're taught. I really do.
If you're taught it's okay to kill people.
I don't want to be that pessimist that says I think they're taught, but I think they're taught.
Do you think that it's possible that it's not that they were taught right from wrong? They were taught there was no right and there was no wrong?
They were not taught that wrong was wrong and right was right. Not one. I don't remember who it was that went and he said, if I can find one righteous man, will you not destroy the city? And he said, yes. If you can find one righteous man, I will not destroy the city.
Right. But what I'm getting at is that if left to their own devices, cultures all over the world have come up with very similar rules. And what I'm saying is maybe it wasn't that they weren't taught right from wrong. It was that they were taught that there was no right and wrong, that all things were equal. If that, like, they were taught against what they already inherently believed.
Well, if you're taught that wrong is right, isn't that kind of the same thing?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's tribes in South America and Africa that still shrink people's heads, kill them and shrink their heads. They don't think it's wrong.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. That's why I think it's a learned behavior. It's a taught behavior.
It could be.
Because now I totally get where you're coming from, Skyla. There are so many different civilizations and that have come up with very, very similar laws, if you will. And obviously that's got to come from somewhere, but that's got to be taught from the parents or in some cases the government down.
Community, I think, is a safe way to say it.
Yeah, it's got to, and that's the problem is that some places things are good, some things are bad, and there's nothing you can do about. You can't change. I mean, you can try and change my belief, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I have to believe that murder is bad, right? So we're into it an hour and 3 minutes now. So
yeah, I was just about to say, well, we have digressed a little bit from the deserted island, gotten into a little sociology and human
I like
behavior.
these conversations. Like just the fact that it progressed into this, I think that was cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. So what would you bring on your island? And what 3 things would you want should there be an EMP? And what do you think? Are morals taught or are they inherent? Let us know on our Facebook page, our Instagram.
At King Ugly Crew on both of those. Drop us an email, kinguglycrew@gmail.com.
Thank you, Lonnon. And we will see you all next week.
Stay ugly.
Stay ugly.